So let's get started. So before knowing what non-standard data structures are, what are standard data structures? Standard data structures are like arrays, list, linked list, or something that you have heard of. Non-standard data structure means something new that the developer has come up with. So this lab contains a vulnerability that is difficult to find manually. It is located in a non-standard data structure. To solve the lab, use burp scanners scan selected insertion point feature to identify the vulnerability, then manually exploit it to delete the user Carlos. You can log into your own account with the following credentials, Wiener and Peter. So let's access the lab. Alright, so we don't have much here. So let's directly log in to my account, Wiener and Peter. Okay, so now let's go to burps HTTP history. So this is where I went to the home page. Here I clicked on my account. Here it redirected to login page, and here is the post login where I kept my credentials Wiener and Peter. And here if you see, before login my cookie was this, and after I log in, server sent me this session cookie and asked me to set this as my cookie, which means delete whatever was the old cookie and set this as my new cookie. And if I see my next request, which is my account ID equals to winner, I can see that this is my current cookie and this is what is being sent back to me again. So let's send this to repeater for testing. Okay. So here you need to understand that this is the only thing that we have that we can interact with, and it doesn't look like a standard format, right? So if I select this whole thing and click on inspector over here, so your inspector might be on the right side. I just shifted it to the left side. Okay, you can select it like this. When I selected this whole thing was previously URL encoded, and URL decoded version looks something like this. So the winner user, which I logged in, followed by the session ID, and these two are separated with a colon. So this seems like a non-standard data structure, right? This string is a random string, so we cannot work with it, but this one is predictable, right? Whenever I want to test something, I want to test something that is predictable, right? So I'm going to test this, and I'm going back to here. And before attacking, you should also remember that cookie is something that interacts with the database every time I send this request. So if I send this request, it interacted with the database. So if I send it again, it again made an interaction with the database. I'm going to select this predictable winner user and inject my payloads here. So I'm going to use an automated scanner, right click and scan selected insertion point. So once I select this, it pops up this, and I just want to audit the selected items. So audit means identify vulnerabilities in the selected item. So which means all the payloads will be injected in this area. Okay, so I click on scan and I go to dashboard, and I can see that it is scanning right now. And on the right side, you can see it is trying all the different vulnerabilities. So XSS reflected, XSS stored, HTTP injection, OS command injection, file path traversal, all such things. Okay, so we'll wait for the scan to complete, and once it is completed, we will check. So it says audit finished, but we did not get any critical vulnerabilities. So this is mainly because if there is any out of bound interaction, the collaborator will take at least 1 minute for it to start polling. After 1 minute, this showed up. So this can be one more reason for the delay. So why I'm saying is that cross-site scripting is a client-side attack, which means first we send the malicious payload to the victim, and once the victim accesses the page, only then the script will execute. So there might be a script that is running every minute that some other user will access the page and then execute. Okay, so that's also one more reason for the delay. And here you can see what this cross-site scripting is done. So this payload has been injected in that cookie. Okay, so it would look something like this. This payload is designed to cause a web browser that renders it to make a request to external domain. Browser that renders means browser has to run the web page, and in that web page this script would contain. And this script would make an external domain interaction, which means it would make a request to this website. And it is also saying the interaction occurred approximately 31 seconds after the scan of the item was completed, which means after 31 seconds, the script ran and it gave us this interaction. So you can also see the interactions right here. So collaborator interaction happened, and this is the HTTP interaction. The request has been done by the user. Okay, this is not done by the server, this is done by the user, and the response that we gave is some simple response. So let's try to replicate this and also understand this payload. So let's copy that. So usually accesses can occur when we close the existing tags of the web page of the client side code and we start our own tags and execute this JavaScript code. Okay, so basically this is HTML code, but I can say JavaScript code, it doesn't matter. So what happens is once this SVG is loaded, only then on load, fetch this URL, which means make a request to this URL and fetch this home page. And fetch is actually a function, so you need to keep it inside the brackets, and this is the final payload. So instead of this, I will keep my own burp collaborator payload. So let's copy this first and go to repeater and paste it here and replace this with our burp collaborator payload. So I will go here to the collaborator and get started, and I can copy this to clipboard, or I can directly say right click insert collaborator payload. Okay, it will automatically keep that link over here. So again copy this and use Control U to encode this, and let's send this request. Because this doesn't make any sense, the server will reply back to us with a 500 internal server error. So it would take approximately 1 minute, and as you can see, this is the HTTP interaction. So fine, so this is working, right? So what we want is not just an interaction, but we want the cookies of that user. So how to get the cookies of that user? So you can get simply by keeping /document.cookie. But as you can see, this cookie is a non-standard cookie which contains something like winner colon some random characters, right? So I have to encode this document.cookie with URL encode. So I have to say dollar flower brackets encode URI component, and inside that we keep our document.cookie, and the cookie will be coming to the collaborator as URL encoded. So I can use the same URL or I can get a new one. So I can right click, clear interaction history, go to the repeater, change this to a new one, and also change this with a new burp collaborator payload. So I can say insert burp collaborator payload. So now I have a new URL. I will send this URL and I still get a 500 internal server error, but I should get a collaborator interaction just after a minute. So I get two interactions, and the URL that I need to see is 312F. Okay, so this one. So if I click on this, I can see this is the request, and inside the request I have this whole thing. So I can copy this, I can go to decoder, paste it, and decode as URL. And here I can see this is the session cookie of the administrator, right? So I can copy this and keep it like this. And this %3a is the colon symbol. So I can directly copy this and go to the browser, right click, inspect element, go to the application, go to the cookies, and replace these cookies. So I don't need anything that is not a valuable cookie. Something like this one, the path with the resources is a static one, right? So I can delete this, I can also delete this, and I can change this. So now I have administrator cookie. All I have to do is send this cookie to get some administrative privileges. And as you can see, I don't have admin panel over here, but if I reload, I will be sending this cookie and I should get an admin panel, right? So as you can see, I have logged out of Wiener, but I still have admin access. So click on this admin panel and you can delete Carlos, and that should solve the lab. So as usual, we are here to learn, right? So I'm going to tell you what is happening behind the scenes of this particular lab. So I have made some drawing over here. So this might seem overwhelming, but trust me, if you go step by step, it is very easy. So first thing what we did, we gave a malicious cookie in the header, right? So this is the first one, and this cookie goes into the server. Server's application code will check this header cookie and tries to validate it. So you should know that this is a GET request, not a POST request. So GET request usually makes an interaction or tries to get something from the server. It will not put something into the server. It will almost all the time tries to get information from the server. And here, when it reaches the code that interacts with the database, because cookies interact with the database, it tries to interact and check whether this cookie is valid or not. So it makes a request to the database server, and the database will execute the SQL statement that cookie is not understood by the database server. It returns nothing, and that nothing will be given back to us as error messages. And that error message is the internal server error that we got. But where did we inject the code actually? Since it just made an interaction but returned nothing, where did we inject the code? We injected the code in the logs. Okay, server logs this interaction with the database. You should remember that the GET request only checks or tries to validate the cookie, but it will not create any new cookies or something like that. So when it returned nothing, the server logged this interaction. So who can have access to this interaction? Admin user, right? So this lab has a script which admin will check the log viewer web page every minute. So when admin made a request for the log viewer web page, the log viewer web page has this script, that SVG script that we have. So it loads and it makes an interaction with the collaborator, and some basic response will be given back. When the admin's browser makes an interaction, we kept document.cookie in the request, right? So while making the request, the URL contains the cookie in the URL encoded format and sends it to the collaborator, and there we can see the admin's cookie. So I hope you enjoy this one, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.